Meowdy gays and ghouls, and welcome to today's tour of the horrors. I'm your host, Spoony the Spooky Cat, and today we are reading creepypastas. Which one we're gonna start with? Let's decide. And I'm not gonna tell you the name of the creepypastas. I'm going to read them and then I will tell you. Maybe. I don't know. I want it to be a surprise. Pick one. Oh boy! I've never actually read this one before. But this is a good way to start. Okay. Let me take this off the list. This is actually, this ambience is legitimately really creepy. What the fuck? Mario! Alright. Alright. You wake at 3 a.m., disturbed by some subtle, shifting sound within the room, just on the edge of hearing. Propping up on one arm, you survey the room, looking for some source of the noise, hoping beyond hope that you won't find one. At first, your hopes are raised. Everything seems to be silent. Everything seems to be still. But it isn't. From behind the long, concealing drape of the curtain, a voice, with flickering serpentine, this whispers, "Go to sleep." Suddenly, you know what's about to happen, and exactly who is waiting to meet you. Where's the actual fucking... Sorry, this is like the creepypasta wiki. And it's like, it gives me that to read, and then it's like, so anyway, here's the origin of this. Here's a synopsis on this story. And I'm like, no, I want to read the actual fucking creepypasta, you piece of shit! Okay, where's the actual creepypasta? Is this it? Okay, this actually looks like it. It's a bit longer. It's a bit longer, but that's okay. Butterfly room. Alright, let's start. Excerpt from a local newspaper. Ominous unknown killer is still at large. After weeks of unexplained murders, the ominous unknown killer is still on the rise. After little evidence has been found, a young boy states that he survived one of the killer's attacks and bravely tells his story. "I had a bad dream, and I woke up in the middle of the night," says the boy. "I saw that for some reason the window was open, even though I remember it being closed before I went to bed. I got up and shut it once more. Afterwards, I simply crawled under my covers and tried to get back to sleep. That's when I had a strange feeling, like someone was watching me. I looked up and nearly jumped out of my bed. There, in the little ray of light, illuminating from between my curtains, were a pair of two eyes. These weren't regular eyes. They were dark, ominous eyes. They were bordered in black and just plain out terrified me. That's when I saw his mouth. A long, horrendous smile that made every hair on my body stand up. The figure stood there, watching me. Finally, after what seemed like forever, he said it. A simple phrase, but said in a way only a madman could speak. He said, "Go to sleep." I let out a scream. That's what sent him at me. He pulled up a knife, aiming at my heart. He jumped on top of my bed. I fought him back. I kicked, I punched, I rolled around, trying to knock him off me. That's when my dad busted in. The man threw the knife. It went into my dad's shoulder. The man probably would have finished him off if one of the neighbors hadn't alerted the police. They drove into the parking lot and ran towards the door. The man turned and ran down the hallway. I heard a smash like glass breaking. As I came out of my room, I saw the window that was pointing towards the back of my house was broken. I looked out it to see him vanish into the distance. I can tell you one thing. I will never forget that face. Those cold, evil eyes and that psychotic smile. They will never leave my head. Police are still on the look for this man. If you see anyone that fits the description in this story, please contact your local police department. Jeff and his family had just moved into a new neighborhood. His dad had gotten a promotion at work, and they thought it would be best to live in one of those fancy neighborhoods. Jeff and his brother Lou couldn't complain, though. A new, better house. What was not to love? As they were getting unpacked, one of their neighbors came by. "Hello," she said. "I'm Barbara. I live across the street from you." "Well, I just wanted to introduce myself and to introduce my son." She turns around and calls her son over. "Billy, these are our new neighbors." Billy said hi and ran back to play in his yard. "Well," said Jeff's mom, "I love this creepy ambiance. While I'm reading, you know, just, here's my son." "Well," said Jeff's mom, "I'm Margaret, and this is my husband Peter, and my two sons, Jeff and Lou." They each introduced themselves, and then Barbara invited them to her son's birthday. Jeff and his brother were about to object. When their mother said that they would love to. When Jeff and his family were done packing, Jeff went up to his mom. I hope the music's not too loud. It doesn't have the compressor since all I'm doing is reading. So, I didn't want it to continue ducking. "Mom, why would you invite us to some kid's party? If you haven't noticed, I'm not some dumb kid." "Jeff," said his mother, "we just moved here and we should show that we want to spend time with our neighbors. Now we're going to that party and that's final." Jeff started to talk but stopped himself, knowing that he couldn't do anything. Whenever his mom said something, it was final. He walked up to his room and plopped down. "Where's the music? Brother, where's the music? Where's the music? Thank you." It's gonna bother me. Just started to talk, but stopped himself, knowing that he couldn't do anything. Whenever his mom said something, it was final. He walked up to his room and plopped down on his bed. He sat there looking at his ceiling when suddenly he got a weird feeling. Not so much pain, but a weird feeling. He dismissed it as just some random feeling. He heard his mother call him down to get his stuff, and he walked down to get it. The next day, Jeff walked downstairs to get breakfast and got ready for school. As he sat there eating his breakfast, he once again got that feeling. This time it was stronger. It gave him a slight tugging pain, but he once again dismissed it. As he and Lou finished breakfast, they walked down to the bus stop. They sat there waiting for the bus. And then, all of a sudden, some kid on a skateboard jumped over them, only inches above their laps. They both jumped back in surprise. "Hey, what the hell?" The kid landed and turned back to them. He kicked his skateboard up and caught it with his hands. The kid seems to be about 12, 1 year younger than Jeff. He wears an Aeropostale shirt and ripped blue jeans. Well, it looks like... Let's try that again. Well, looks like we got some new meat. Suddenly, two other kids appeared. One was super skinny and the other was huge. "Well, since you're new here, I'd like to introduce ourselves. Over there is Keith." Jeff and Lou looked over to the skinny kid. He had a dopey face that you would expect a sidekick to have. And he's Troy. They looked over at the fat kid. Talk about a tub of lard. That's a little unnecessary. This kid looked like he hadn't exercised since he was crawling. That's also unnecessary. Alan Wake is such a good writer, yeah. "And I," said the first kid, "am Randy." That's such a bully's name. Wow. Now for all the kids in this neighborhood, there is a small price for bus fare, if you catch my drift. Lou stood up, ready to punch the lights out of the kid's eyes, when one of his friends pulled a knife on him. A knife! Jeez, these little babies. A knife! I had hoped you would be more cooperative, but it seems we must do this the hard way. The kid walked up to Lou and took his wallet out of his pocket. Jeff got that feeling again. Now it was truly strong, a burning sensation. He stood up, but Lou gestured him to sit down. Jeff ignored him and walked up to the kid. "Listen here, you little punk. Give back my bro's wallet or else." Randy put the wallet in his pocket and pulled out his own knife. "Oh, And what will you do? Just as he finished the sentence, Jeff popped the kid in the nose. As Randy reached for his face, Jeff grabbed the kid's wrist and broke it! Randy screamed, and Jeff grabbed the knife from his hand. Troy and Keith rushed Jeff, but Jeff was too quick. He threw Randy to the ground. Keith lashed out at him, but Jeff ducked and stabbed him in the arm. Keith dropped his knife and fell to the ground, screaming. Troy rushed him too, but Jeff didn't even need the knife. He just punched Troy straight in the stomach, and Troy went down. As he fell, he puked all over. Lou could do nothing but look in amazement at Jeff. "Jeff, how'd you—" was all he said. They saw the bus coming and knew they'd be blamed for the whole thing, so they started running as fast as they could. As they ran, they looked back and saw the bus driver rushing over to Randy and the others. As Jeff and Lou made it to school, they didn't dare tell what happened. All they did was sit and listen. Lou just thought of that as his brother beating up a few kids, but Jeff knew it was more. It was something scary. As he got that feeling, he felt how powerful it was. The urge to just hurt someone. Because he knows what the story is now. I've never read this one. I think by the time this one became popular, I wasn't into creepypastas anymore. So, it's fun! He didn't like how it sounded, but he couldn't help feeling happy. He felt the strange feeling go away and stay away for the entire day of school. That was worded strange. Even as he walked home due to the whole thing near the bus stop, and how now he probably wouldn't be taking the bus anymore, he felt happy. When he got home, his parents asked him how his day was, and he said in a somewhat ominous voice, "It was a wonderful day." Next morning, he heard a knock at his front door. He walked down to find 2 police officers at the door, his mother looking back at him with an angry look. "Jeff, these officers tell me that you attacked 3 kids, that it wasn't regular fighting, and that they were stabbed." That's how normal people talk. "Stabbed, son!" Hold on, I need to read that again. "Jeff, these officers tell me that you attacked 3 kids, that it wasn't regular fighting, and that they were stabbed. Stabbed, son!" Jeff's gaze fell to the floor, showing his mother that it was true. "Mom, they were the ones who pulled the knives on me and Lou." "Son," said one of the cops, "we found 3 kids, 2 stabbed, and 1 having a bruise on his stomach, and we have witnesses proving that you fled the scene. Now, what does that tell us?" Jeff knew it was no use. He could say him and Lou had been attacked, and then there was no proof it was not them who attacked first. They couldn't say that they weren't fleeing, because truth be told, they were. So Jeff couldn't defend himself. Or Lou. "Stabbed, son! Stabbed!" "Son, call down your brother." Jeff couldn't do it, since it was he who beat up all of the kids. "Sir, it was me. I was the one who beat up the kids. Lou tried to hold me back, but he couldn't stop me." The cop looked at his partner, and they both nodded. "Well, kids, looks like a year in juvie." "You can't just decide that! You can't just decide that right then and there! You have to be Cops. "Wait," says Lou. They all looked up to see him holding a knife. The officers pulled their guns and locked them on Lou. I'm sorry. I can't. Okay, I need to take this seriously. "It was me. I beat up those little punks. Have the marks to prove it." He lifted up his sleeves to reveal cuts and bruises, as if he was in a struggle. "Son, just put the knife down," said the officer. Lou held up the knife and dropped it to the ground. He put his hands up and walked over to the cops. "No, Lou, it was me! I did it!" Jeff had tears running down his face. Poor bro. Trying to take the blame for what I did. "Well, take me away." The police led Lou out to the patrol car. "Lou, tell them it was me! Tell them I was the one who beat up those kids!" Jeff's mother put her hands on his shoulders. "Jeff, please, you don't have to lie. We know it's Lou. You can stop." Jeff watched helplessly as the cop car speeds off with Lou inside. A few minutes later, Jeff's dad pulled into the driveway, seeing Jeff's face and knowing something was wrong. Music. Son! Son, what is it? Jeff couldn't answer. His vocal cords were strained from crying. Instead, Jeff's mother walked his father inside to break the bad news to him as Jeff wept in the driveway. After an hour or so, Jeff walked back into the house, seeing that his parents were both shocked, sad, and disappointed. He couldn't look at them. He couldn't see how they thought of Lou when it was his fault. He just went to sleep, trying to get the whole thing off his mind. 2 days went by. No word from Lou at JDC. No friends to hang out with. Nothing but sadness and guilt. That is until Saturday, when Jeff is woken up by his mother. The happy, sunshiny face. I'm gonna turn the music up a little bit, actually, because it's just ambiance. Sunshiny face. Jeff, it's the day, she said as she opened up the curtains and let light flood into his room. What? What's today? Asked Jeff as he stirs awake. Why, it's Billy's party. He was now fully awake. Mom, you're joking, right? You don't expect me to go to some kid's party after... There's a long pause. Jeff, we both know what happened. I think this party could be the thing that brightens up the past days. Now, get dressed. Jeff's mother walked out of the room and downstairs to get ready herself. He fought himself to get up. He picked out a random shirt and a pair of jeans and walked downstairs. He saw his mother and father all dressed up, his mother in a dress and his father in a suit. He thought why they would ever wear such fancy clothes to a kid's party. I'm not late, you're late. Shh. No, I'm early. I'm early. Hi, Rory. Son, is that all you're going to wear? Said Jeff's mom. Better than wearing too much, he said. His mother pushed down the feeling to yell at him and hid it with a smile. Now, Jeff, we may be overdressed, but this is how you go if you want to make an impression, said his father. I read that as his mother. Whoops! Jeff grunted and went back up to his room. I don't have any fancy clothes, he yelled downstairs. Just pick out something, called his mother. He looked around in his closet for what he would call fancy. He found a pair of black dress pants he had for special occasions and an undershirt. He couldn't find a shirt to go with it, though. Undershirt. He couldn't find a shirt. He looked around and found only striped and patterned shirts, none of which to go with dress pants. Finally, he found a white hoodie and put it on. Ah, yes, the origin! That sounded like that sentence did not have a proper punctuation. I don't think it had proper English. You're wearing that? They both said. His mother looked at her watch. Oh, no time to change. Let's just go, she said as she herded Jeff and his father out the door. They crossed the street over to Barbara and Billy's house. They knocked on the door, and at it appeared that Barbara, just like his parents, way overdressed. Okay, let me try reading that again. They knocked on the door, and at it appeared that Barbara, just like his parents, way overdressed. Okay. As they walked inside, all Jeff could see were adults. No kids. The kids are out in the yard. Jeff, how about you go and meet some of them, said Barbara. Jeff walked outside to a yard full of kids. They were running around in weird cowboy costumes and shooting each other with plastic guns. He might as well be standing in a Toys R Us. Suddenly, a kid came up to him and handed him a toy gun and hat. Hey, wanna play? He said. No, kid. I'm way too old for this stuff. I'm 13. He didn't say I'm 13, but hi, Ed. The kid looked at him with that weird puppy dog face. Please, said the kid. Fine, said Jeff. He put on the hat and started to pretend shoot at the kids. At first he thought it was totally ridiculous, but then he started to actually have fun. It might not have been super cool, but it was the first time he had done something that took his mind off of Lou. So he played with the kids for a while until he heard a noise. A weird rolling noise. Then it hit him. The Katamari was on the way. No. Randy, Troy, and Keith all jumped over the fence on their skateboards. Jeff dropped the fake gun and ripped off the hat. Randy looked at Jeff with a burning hatred. "Hello, Jeff, is it?" he said. "We have some unfinished business." Jeff saw his bruised nose. "I think we're even. I beat the crap out of you, and you get my brother sent to JDC. Randy got an angry look in his eyes. "Oh no. I don't go for even. I go for winning. You may have kicked our asses that one day, but not today." As he said that, Randy rushed at Jeff. They both fell to the ground. Randy punched Jeff in the nose, and Jeff grabbed him by the ears and headbutted him. Jeff pushed Randy off of him, and both rose to their feet. Kids were screaming, and parents were running out of the house. Troy and Keith both pulled guns out of their pockets. "No one interrupts or guts will fly," they said. Randy pulled a knife on Jeff and stabbed it into his shoulder. Jeff screamed and fell to his knees. Randy started kicking him in the face. After 3 kicks, Jeff grabbed his foot and twisted it, causing Randy to fall to the ground. Jeff stood up and walked towards the back door. Troy grabbed him. "Need some help?" He picks Jeff up by the back of the collar and throws him through the patio door. As Jeff tries to stand, he is kicked down to the ground. Randy repeatedly starts kicking Jeff until he starts to cough up blood. "Come on, Jeff, fight me!" He picks Jeff up and throws him into the kitchen. Randy sees a bottle of vodka on the counter and smashes the glass over Jeff's head. "Fight!" He throws Jeff back into the living room. "This is insane." "Come on, Jeff, look at me." Jeff glances up, his face riddled with blood. "I was the one who got your brother sent to JDC, and now you're just gonna sit here and let him rot in there for a whole year. You should be ashamed." Jeff starts to get up. "Oh, finally, you stand and fight." Jeff is now to his feet, blood and vodka on his face. Once again, he gets that strange feeling, the one in which he hasn't felt for a while. "Finally, he's up," says Randy as he runs at Jeff. That's when it happens. Something inside Jeff snaps. His psyche is destroyed. All rational thinking is gone. All he can do is kill. He grabs Randy and pile drives him to the ground. He gets on top of him and punches him straight in the heart. The punch causes Randy's heart to stop. As Randy gasps for breath, Jeff hammers down on him, punch after punch. Blood gushes from Randy's body until he takes one final breath and dies. Everyone is looking at Jeff now. The parents, the crying kids, even Troy and Keith, although they easily break from their gaze and point their guns at Jeff. Jeff sees the guns trained on him and runs for the stairs. As he runs, Troy and Keith let out fire on him, each shot missing. Jeff runs up the stairs. He hears Troy and Keith follow up behind. As they let out their final rounds of bullets, Jeff ducks into the bathroom. He grabs the towel rack and rips it off the wall. Troy and Keith race in, knives ready. Troy swings his knife at Jeff, who backs away and bangs the towel rack in Troy's face. Troy goes down hard, and now all that's left is Keith. He is more agile than Troy, though, and ducks when Jeff swings the towel rack. He dropped the knife and grabbed Jeff by the neck. He pushed him into the wall. A thing of bleach fell down on top of him from the top shelf. It burnt both of them, and they both started to scream. Jeff wiped his eyes as best as he could. He pulled back the towel rack and swung it straight into Keith's head. As he lay there, bleeding to death, he let out an ominous smile. "What's so funny?" asked Jeff. Keith pulled out a lighter and switched it on. "What's funny," he said, "is that you're covered in bleach and alcohol." Jeff's eyes widened as Keith threw the lighter at him. As soon as the flame made contact with him, the flames ignited the alcohol in the vodka. While the alcohol burned him, the bleach bleached his skin. Jeff let out a terrible screech as he caught on fire. He tried to roll out the fire, but it was no use. The alcohol had made him a walking inferno. He ran down the hall and fell down the stairs. Everybody started screaming as they saw Jeff, now a man on fire, drop to the ground, nearly dead. The last thing Jeff saw was his mother and the other parents trying to extinguish the flame. That's when he passed out. When Jeff woke, he had a cast wrapped around his face. He couldn't see anything, but he felt a cast on his shoulder and stitches all over his body. He tried to stand up, but he realized that there was some tube in his arm, and when he tried to get up, it fell out. The nurse rushed in. I don't think it would have fallen out that easily. IVs are usually taped to you and stuff, and like a needle in your arm. I don't think you can get out of bed just yet, she said as she put him back in his bed and reinserted the tube. Jeff sat there with no vision, no idea of what his surroundings were. Finally, after hours, he heard his mother. "Honey, are you okay?" she asked. Jeff couldn't answer, though. His face was covered and he was unable to speak. "Oh, honey, I have great news. After all the witnesses told the police that Randy confessed of trying to attack you, they decided to let Lou go." This made Jeff almost bolt up, stopping halfway, remembering the tube coming out of his arm. "He'll be out by tomorrow, and then you two will be able to be together again." Jeff's mother hugs Jeff and says her goodbyes. The next couple of weeks were those where Jeff was visited by his family. Then came the day where his bandages were to be removed. His family members were all there to see it, what he would look like. As the doctors unwrapped the bandages from Jeff's face, everyone was on the edge of their seats. They waited until the last bandage holding the cover of his face was almost removed. Jeff's mother hugs Jeff. Isn't that good writing? "Let's hope for the best," said the doctor. He quickly pulls the cloth, letting the rest fall from Jeff's face. Jeff's mother screams at the sight of his face. Lou and Jeff's dad stare awestruck at his face. What happened to my face?" Jeff said. He rushed out of the bed and ran to the bathroom. He looked in the mirror and saw the cause of the distress. His face. It's horrible. His lips were burnt to a deep shade of red. His face was turned into a pure white color, and his hair singed from brown to black. He slowly put his hand to his face. It had a sort of leathery feel to it now. He looked back at his family, then back at the mirror. "Jeff," said Lou, "it's not that bad." "Not that bad," said Jeff. "It's perfect!" His family was equally surprised. Jeff started laughing uncontrollably. His parents noticed that his left eye and hand were twitching. Jeff, are you okay?" "Okay! I've never felt more happy!" "Look at me! This face goes perfectly with me." He couldn't stop laughing. He stroked his face, feeling it, looking at it in the mirror. What caused this? "Well, you may recall that..." Sorry. "Well, you may recall that when Jeff was fighting Randy, something in his mind, his sanity, snapped. Now he was left as a crazy killing machine. That is, his parents didn't know." "Doctor," said Jeff's mom, "is my son all right, in the head?" "Oh yes, this behavior is typical for patients that have taken very large amounts of painkillers. If his behavior doesn't change in a few weeks, bring him back here and we'll give him a psychologist test." This is Jeff the killer, yes. "Oh, thank you, doctor." Jeff's mother went over to Jeff. "Jeff, sweetie, it's time to go." I've never read this before, so this is so fucking funny. Jeff looks away from the mirror, his face still formed into a crazy smile. "Okay, mommy!" His mother took him by the shoulder and took him to get his clothes. "This is what came in," said the lady at the desk. Jeff's mom looked down to see the black dress pants and white hoodie her son wore. Now they were clean of blood and now stitched together. Jeff's mother led him to his room and made him put his clothes on. Then they left, not knowing that this was their final day of life. Later that night, Jeff's mother woke up to a sound coming from the bathroom. That's the sound, we're hearing it right now. It sounded as if someone was crying. She slowly walked over to see what it was. When she looked into the bathroom, she saw a horrendous sight. Jeff had taken a knife and carved a smile into his cheeks. "You want to know how I got these scars?" "Jeff, what are you doing?" asked his mother. Jeff looked over to his mother. "I couldn't keep smiling, Mommy. It hurt after a while. Now I can smile forever." Jeff's mother noticed his eyes, ringed in black. "Jeff, your eyes!" His eyes were seemingly never closing. "I couldn't see my face. I got tired and my eyes started to close. I burned out the eyelids so I could forever see myself. My new face." Jeff's mother slowly started to back away, seeing that her son was going insane. "What's wrong, Mommy? Aren't I beautiful?" Yes, son, she said. Yes, you are. Let me go get Daddy so he can see your face. She ran into the room and shook Jeff's dad from his sleep. Honey, get the gun. She stopped as she saw Jeff in the doorway holding a knife. Mommy, you lied. That's the last thing they hear as Jeff rushes them with the knife, gutting both of them. His brother Lou woke up, startled by some noise. He didn't hear anything else, so he just shut his eyes and tried to go back to sleep. As he was on the border of slumber, he got the strangest feeling that someone was watching him. He looked up before Jeff's hand covered his mouth. He slowly raised the knife, ready to plunge it into Lou. Lou thrashed here and there, trying to escape Jeff's grip. Shh, Jeff said. Just go to sleep. That's it. That was Jeff the Killer. I've never read it before. That was Jeff the Killer. It was so bad. I loved it. Thank you, Jeff the Killer. All right, what's next? Okay, let's go somewhere else. Let's get rid of Jeff the Killer from my list. Again, I'm not going to tell you the name of these creepypastas until the end, because I want it to be a happy surprise. Alright. This one's a little shorter. A lot shorter, actually. So, let's, I'll be honest, I didn't know this was actually Jeff the Killer. I was joking as soon as I heard Jeff. That was the first time I heard that. Awesome! Okay, I'm gonna try my best, because I think this would be funnier if I didn't laugh. I think it would be funnier if I didn't laugh. It sucked, but it was written by someone's two hands, and that makes it important. It sucked, but it was awesome, and I enjoyed myself, so thank you to who wrote Jeff the Killer. You made something incredible. I didn't make it far when I tried to read it. I missed the first part when you did, but I think it started by shifting perspectives twice, and that annoyed me. Yeah, it did. That was annoying. Okay. Let's start. How, hang on, where's my ad thing? I don't have it up. I don't know. When I get the notification that an ad is about to start, I'll look for a stopping point. Let's start this one. Try. Okay, I'm good. I'll take a sip. My name is Lucas, and I'm currently an adult. Thanks for the water. So I decided to tell you a story that happened in 1985, and no, this isn't like a game where when you try calling the Nintendo headquarters, you would get weird whispers and terrifying screams, and no, nobody told me to harm myself. So basically, I was given a gift on my birthday from my uncle. He told me that he got it from a recently opened GameStop. One moment. When did GameStop open? Oh! 1984. Okay, accurate. Alright, alright. I was so happy that the game he got me was Super Mario Bros. I instantly began to play the game. For some reason, I was playing as Luigi instead of Mario, but I didn't care, and it was exactly how I remembered from the original. But when I kept playing, it suddenly showed static, abruptly, and the blocks were empty. I assumed it was a glitch and decided to keep playing, but the screen went black and something said my name. It took a long time to show who said my name. What was shown scarred me for life. It was a distorted picture of Mario. He had a black shirt, and his face was white with black voids. He had a distorted mouth. It went back to normal, and the sky was black, but as soon as I reached the flagpole, a message appeared on the screen, and it said, "Innocence doesn't get you far. Innocence doesn't get you far." The camera pans to the broken flagpole with blood over it. The castle was destroyed, and Mario was standing behind a toad. Mario blows Toad away, and he explodes with blood going everywhere. It pans back to Luigi. He was horrified, like I was. To make things even worse, there were eyes everywhere, and they looked like it was staring right at me. A text in the middle of the screen said, "Run!" and I did that. Mario was faster than me, but I managed to outrun him. I managed to get past everything, and then I saw a pipe at the beginning. I entered it and I died. It showed the regular game over text, but with Luigi's head on a stick with blood everywhere. At this point, I turned off the game, and I told my uncle about everything. So, he took the game and gave it to the GameStop for a refund. I was happy that I don't have to deal with that nightmare ever again. At the time I'm writing this story, the game was found in an abandoned warehouse. Fortunately, the game was destroyed. I never saw the godforsaken game again, so I can enjoy any Mario game without thinking about that one time. This was written by Joseph the Snail. I believe this was a rare case of somebody writing a creepypasta based off of a fan game. Mario 85 is what this one was called. That was bad. That was really bad. Thank you, Mario 85. Thank you. Let's see. Okay, does this actually have, like, a creepypasta? Or is this just, yes, this is a creepypasta. Okay. Do I have the time to read it? Let's start. Vinny Vinesauce fan found. Spotted. Lost in Vivo has really good ambience. Okay, next one. Shorter, but not as short as that last one. Okay. One late afternoon, I invited some of my friends to play Sonic R. As we turned on the Sega Saturn, we were excited for a racing tournament. As we were at the character select screen, thank you for the follow, I chose the Tails doll for humor. Most of my friends were laughing as they chose Metal Sonic, Metal Knuckles, Mecha Eggman, and Super Sonic. Later, I won at the races since I am expert at this game. We realized time flew by, so my friends left. Yeah, you guys got it. I still felt like playing video games, so I inserted my Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing disc into my PlayStation 3. Me and my friends play- So many of these creepypastas feel like product placement. Like forced product placement. Like, they're very specific, like, Sega All-Stars Racing disc, PlayStation 3, TM. Me and my friends played a few races online, and a message popped up to my screen, coming from a user called Tails Doll. I opened it, and it said, "Thank you." For what? I sent him a message back to the user. Tails Doll then sent another message saying, "You won first place with the Tails Doll. I was watching you." I got freaked out for a second, thinking something was watching over us as we were playing Sonic R. Another message from Tails Doll saying, "Can you feel the sunshine?" and sent me a friend request, but I didn't accept it because I don't even know who this guy is. It's Tails Doll! Come on, buddy. Aww. Alright. I sent all my friends a message saying, did you see anybody watching us? Because I got sent a message from a user called Tailsdoll saying he watched me win first place with the Tailsdoll. Does this motherfucker have like a keyboard, USB keyboard attached to his PS3? Because, it's really hard to type all that on a PS3 message. My friends sent back messages saying they don't know, and with a... that face. I searched Tailsdoll's profile, but it said the profile doesn't exist. I immediately turned off the PlayStation 3 and used my laptop to go to the PSN forums. I made a thread about my message encounter with the Tailsdoll. Users were replying. They also reported getting messages after playing Sonic R with Tailsdoll. An administrator deleted the thread, calling it nonsense. It was 10 p.m., so I went to the bedroom. It's capitalized, turned off the lights, and slept. When I woke up the next morning, I found a little paper saying, Dear Richard, I am going to kill your friends to show them that they are fools. Sincerely, the doll. There was a little bloodstain where the doll was read. I freaked out and threw it in the trash and had a 1,000-mile stare until I got to school. I ran inside the ass room and screamed to my friends that they will be killed. The teacher thought I was the class clown and I punished me with lunch detention for today. Whoever wrote this must have been 12. At lunch detention, one of my peers said that they heard of the Tailsdoll after I told them my encounter with it. What made me get chills in my spine is that he told me I'm the Tailsdoll's vessel, meaning that I pleased the Tailsdoll by playing as him in Sonic R. The moment after he said that, the fire alarm rang and we evacuated the school. Smoke was coming from the 3rd floor, and it was a real fire! It was coming from my classroom! I came home early due to the fire. That's the wrong do. It's D-O instead of D-U-E. I told my parents about the fire, but not the Tailsdoll. My father told me that my uncle and my cousins are coming. Luckily, my uncle was a retired veteran, so I might have some protection from the Tailsdoll for now. I keep pausing because it'll have like a big space between the paragraphs. It's really weird. A few hours later, I told my cousins the entire story and they didn't believe me, saying that it was a good, scary story, but this is reality. Suddenly, my cell phone was ringing. My Razor cell phone was ringing. It doesn't say that, I'm sorry. And it was my friend saying he was having a party. I got permission from my parents and I headed off to my friend's house. As I got there, he had a great time fooling around. We had a great time fooling around, eating like hell and watching the fights of drunk men. After a while, a doorbell rang. The music was so loud we couldn't hear it, so the doorbell rang continuously until I noticed the sounds and opened it. It was my older brother and he joined the party. This is so bad. I had a sleepover at my friend's house since it was too late to go home. I woke up at 5 o'clock a.m. that morning and found a doll that looks like the Tailsdoll from Sonic R. This is very descriptive. This is incredibly descriptive. Since I find no interest in dolls, I gave it to my little sister when I got home. My guard was down thinking that the doll conspiracy was finally over. Oh, I found a doll! No, don't worry about it. Let me give it to my sister. She's gonna die now. I read my dad's newspaper and I jumped out of my chair when I saw the headlines. It read, "Fire started in Eisenhower Middle School by unknown entity." Yeah, that's a real headline. 3 injured. This unknown entity sounded like the Tailsdoll and I became paranoid once again. I decided to be a temporary paperboy to end my boredom after breakfast. Just as a note here, you couldn't play Sonic R on the PS3 anyway. Oh. An hour later, all the papers were delivered, and the days... Okay, let me read that again because it's funny. An hour later, all the papers were delivered, and the days after were quite casual with no school. As I checked the mailbox for letters from my classmates, I stumbled upon a yellow envelope, which is quite unusual. I ripped it open with curiosity, and it was from your secret killer. It read, "My dear friend, I know where you live. I will not kill your friends, but burn their houses instead for even more suffering. Will you play with me?" I ran to the nearest trash can and threw it away, and I attempted to clear my mind. Late that night, several fire trucks came to several houses, and I realized that letter was actually telling the truth for once. School reopened the next day, and what happened last night made it to Fox News that morning. As I entered the classroom when I came to school, everybody was paranoid just like me. And when school was over, as I walked home, I found a paper saying, "I will see you, Richard," on the sidewalk. Then I believed this Tails doll was actually real. I ran as fast as I can. When I stopped, I saw fresh blood dripping down a storm drain. I suddenly became sick and disgusted by this horrific sight. I ran even faster and was inside my home, and I locked the door tight. Something was poking on me, and so I turned around. Nothing was there. I ran upstairs to my room. The door locked for no reason. Nothing was inside. The lights were out for no reason. I heard loud footsteps coming from the stairs. A red light appeared. The lights turned on. It was the Tails doll! It told me in a demonic voice, "I will show you the error of your ways." It took out a knife but turned around and floated outside. I closed my eyes in horror as it was killing innocent people. It came back. This is such an incredibly descriptive story. It came back saying, "Are you happy, knowing you could feel the sunshine?" It got a huge machete and was ready to kill me as well. I locked the door and dropped down from the window. With luck, I landed on the ground, as opposed to clipping through it and falling through the world. It doesn't say that. The Tails doll was furiously slashing at the door. A piece of the door flew out the window, and the doll's dark eyes were glaring at me. It threw the knife and it almost hit me. It found a chainsaw and told me it was doing a sacrifice. I jumped through numerous fences, but it was too fast, and it was a slight cut from the chainsaw. I'm sorry I'm reading this so disjointed and weird. It is all run-on sentences. Dripping with blood. I ran through an alley and floated straight toward trying to slice me into two. Before it was going to kill me, I found a wooden cross and shoved it in front of him. He burned like it was a bomb and exploded. I limped my way back home with the chainsaw and told my siblings an unbelievable story. I think that's a true story. I think that's real. That's gotta be real, right? Man, what a work of art that was. Let me get rid of Tails doll on the list. Oh yeah, I had to decide what I'm gonna read next. So real. Happened to my buddy Kyle. Honestly, that story, as enjoyable as it was, compared to Jeff the Killer, like, Jeff the Killer looks like... It's like incredible now in comparison. Jeff the Killer is the most amazing thing I've ever read in comparison to that Tails doll creepypasta. Like, what the fuck? Holy shit. Oh! Okay, the next one is gonna be longer, and we have an ad break that needs to happen. So, let's ad break. This next one is gonna be pretty long. One moment. So let's strap in. Get ready. If you know this one, you'll know. Alright, let's get started. Forward edit. Or just forward. This is the recorded blog of a college student. Let's start over. I already fucked up. This is the recorded blog of a college student who is playing a modified version of Super Mario Bros. 3 on his computer. Shortly after submitting the last entry, he committed suicide in his dorm room. June 5th, 2012. A friend of mine recently sent me what he claims to be a scary Super Mario Bros. 3 hack that he wanted me to try out, because he didn't have the courage. I started this blog to record my progress through the game. He got this from a site that's no longer active, and I've seen some pretty scary occurrences with emulator games before. Just look at Ben! All of that aside, however, there was something definitely off about this ROM. Its title was SMB3:BW. Anyhow, I won't play any today as I'm quite busy with college work and such, but I will definitely start tomorrow. You need to talk like Mario? Absolutely not. No. It is Blood Whistle. June 6th, 2012. I played some of the game today. Obviously, my friend was misinformed, as I have played all the way through 1 through 3 and have found nothing irregular. All of the sprites, levels, and sounds didn't have a fluke to their name. Wait, a secret! That must be how you have to unlock it. I swear, you guys, I'll find the warp whistle tomorrow and see what creepy secrets this game has to hide. Look for tomorrow's post. It won't disappoint. Maybe this will explain what the BW in the title stands for. I'm sick, you have to. Maybe a shorter entry. No, like, there will be parts, I'm pretty sure, where Mario speaks. I will do those in a Mario voice. Okay? Alright, I'll do it for you, monks. June 7th, 2012. I wish I hadn't unlocked that secret. This is like a Resident Evil. Like, in Resident Evil, when you find a note, that's like... that's like, we have contained the beast, and then the next entry is like, the beast has escaped. I wish I hadn't unlocked that secret. This game will be the bane of my existence. I'll try as best as I can to explain what happened, and what will certainly entail. I don't know if any of you will believe me, but this sick mockery of one of my childhood favorites must be exploited and never be seen by the eyes of any other breathing man on God's green earth. And Todd, what I'll call my friend for the sake of privacy and possibly security, do not send that link to anyone else. You'll see why below. I entered the castle stage. Knowing its only secret was the warp whistle, I disposed of a dry bones before donning a raccoon tail. With a running start, I was flying above the stage until I hit the secret area. My whole life, before I hit up on my arrow keypad, was completely different. I was happy. I was normal. I could wake up in the morning recognizing my own reflection, being absolute about my safety. Now it's lies. All lies. I know that, as of what happened today, my life will become an infernal hell in which every day will be a futile struggle to retain my own sanity. After finishing this wretched collage of electronic dejection, I will embrace death like a long-lost lover. Open arms. Now to get on with what had come to pass. A little melodramatic there, buddy. The blocks that lined the wall were a gloomy, albeit polished obsidian black. Mario's skin now had a grayish tint to it, but that wasn't what was wrong with that picture. The music was a sped-up version of the normal bonus room theme. Toad's skull was cracked open and profusely bleeding, spilling blood onto the floor and making the room slippery, like an ice stage. His mouth was also agape and spewing blood onto the floor. The blood had an eerie, reflective quality that should have been graphically impossible for an 8-bit game like Mario 3. I walked up to him to see what it is that he might say. What he had to offer is this. Blood whistle. Hear its cry. I then ran towards the chest to see its contents. The chest was drenched in reflective, realistic blood of the same type emanated by the orifices and exposed cranium of the poor little mushroom-headed fellow. Pressing onward, I ran through it to discover its dark secret, its twisted surprise. I wasn't prepared for the following events. I wonder if this is what caused that realistic blood trend. Hyper-realist. No, I think it was sonic.exe. A blood-soaked warp whistle ominously rose from what I now believe to be the deepest crevice of hell. It blipped twice as the normal whistle would. That, my fellow reader, was the only normality of what I have played today. It played a deep tune that I can't get out of my head as I write this. The whistle descended, violently striking Mario in the chest. He unleashed a blood-curdling scream as it went into his back and out of his chest. The cry wasn't 8-bit at all. It wasn't even cartoon-esque. It was the sound of unfiltered anguish, of utter agony. His expression reflected the same. To end my experience on this perverse version of something I once loved, Mario was transported to the warp zone of the blood whistle. I call it this because it had only the cookie-cutter outline of the quaint island. The water consisted solely of the same blood aforementioned in my encounter with the whistle. Corpses of Koopas and other enemies of Mario were scattered afloat near the shores. White, menacing eyes glared at me between the waves, surfacing just to cast their evil glance at Mario, or me. I can't be sure at this point. All of the worlds were indicated by the respective numbers, and all of the dots were crimson. At that point, I noticed yet another abnormality, this time concerning the dot for the world 8. Beside it were 2 8-bit patches of fire that twisted and contorted in place. Without me pressing any buttons, the whistle stabbed Mario in the ribs. This cued him to move to the world 2 dot. Refusing to pay any further attention to the horrors that surely await in the distorted desert, I saved the game and quit. I have played more than enough of my fill for today. Stomping on Koopas! I guess that I figured out the acronym from the ROM title meant blood whistle the hard way. Despite the horrors that plague this abomination, I will continue to subject myself to this suffering for the sake of all of you. Well, also for mine. It'll help me keep track of the days, and maybe this desperate attempt to cling to my stable frame of mind won't prove to be in total vain. There are 5,000 people that have followed this blog in 2 days that it's been up. After this pointedly interesting post, I'm hoping to have some more. For those of you following my post, read tomorrow's and share with your friends. I need you to expose the stark luridness of the shell of something I once knew and loved. I gotta hand it to this guy. Okay writing. Pretty good. It's a little melodramatic, but it's suitable for a creepypasta. So I'll take it. June 8th, 2012. Well, I did it. I managed to clench the fickle fibers of my perception of reality long enough to play through World 2. I have come to the conclusion that whoever made this is completely and utterly deranged. There's been a rusted gear or a broken spring in the mechanics of their sadistic mind. Their only purpose in creating this mod, was to mentally and psychologically flagellate the naive soul poor enough to take the bait of its mystery or mysterious origin. While I'm certainly naive enough to fall into that category, I digress. To the experience. I gotta keep reading, the music's gotten too good. I find myself asking how I could have missed major things like this yesterday when I saved the game in this world. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Blood of the same texture from before was just as splattered across the desert sands as sand itself was. Solitary eyes watched me from the pyramids. Pentagrams and other satanic symbols were also infrequent in the environment. Could this hack be the work of the Illuminati? Okay, enough pondering. I need to finish this grim tale. Skeletons of Koopas littered the bleak landscape. There was a distinct disturbance with Mario's appearance, though. He looked starved and parched, as one would typically look after a few days in the desert. Mario then moved into the 2-1 block without my command, and the music began to play shortly after. This was a reversed version of the overworld theme. I got distracted by Silent Hill and said otherworld instead. Whispers and other paranormal phenomena could be heard playing in harmony with the music, saying cryptic things. After about a minute, I began to record the sound. I'll upload it as soon as possible, but I know I definitely can't do it today. One of the most distinct things I kept hearing was, "Let the whistle guide you," and "The instrument of blood plays the sweetest tune." This creeped me out, needless to say, but this, of all things, wouldn't prevent me from playing out the remainder of this game. The stage itself was very scary! The sky was grayish-blue, accompanied by an almost white sun. The colors weren't bright or cheery in the slightest. The pyramid blocks were faded and cracked, and the wooden blocks were obviously rotting. Mario's sprite was visibly starving and pleading for thirst. The fire creatures fixedly stared at me, like a shark stares at a school of fish, seeming to know who their next meal was. The neutral expressions of the Koopas had changed into ones of converged disgust and loathe. I had obtained the raccoon by now, so I ran along the pipe-looking platform and took off. If it were me, I would have just speedrun it. Yeah. Imagine speedrunning a, CreepyPasta game. That'd be so funny. I flew for a little while, which was nice. Mario's face changed as well, being the normal happy smile you usually see throughout the entire game. I relished in the few moments of happiness I sought from this game. These moments were mercilessly ended within the course of a few seconds. The sky flashed a gloomy black before the blood whistle came and impaled the poor plumber yet again. Mario fell, his corpulent figure going limp until he hit the ground with a thump that I swore I could feel. He was miraculously alive, his body twitching in a feeble attempt to rise. A fire creature jumped on Mario, who was now pinned to the ground and screaming in pain. His scream was bitterly realistic. It reeked of such ineffable pain it hurts me now to describe the sheer degree of torture this character was put through. There he was, burning and seething in pain, and there I sat, completely powerless, forced to watch what I thought was the end of his trials on World 2. I was so wrong. The level select came into view. Whistle threw back. Mario was transported to one of the pyramid levels. When the level started, the background was an egregious, smoke-filled black. Bursts of lightning filled the sky with illumination. Winged demons in flight were visible upon these strikes. Also in the skies glowed stagnantly lit pentagrams and 666. Mario was being carried by two of Bowser's sons up one of the game's pyramid structures. However, this particular structure was vastly different than the regular ones. There we go. The bricks were cracked and faded with age. The edges were jagged with dried blood caked each block. Nothing but a heavy drum beat and the sounds of thunder played in the background. The thunder didn't play in unison with lightning as happens in most games. There was an eerily realistic pause between the flare of the lightning and the boom of the thunder. As the top of the structure was reached, I saw the worst thing yet. I can't take this seriously because I can only hear Mario going, ah, when he gets set on fire in 64. Yeah, I can't take any Mario creepypasta seriously. Oh my god. Bowser towered above everyone else, intimidating and terrible. Below stood 4 of his sons, 2 of which had carried Mario. Morton, Iggy, Ray, and Von Koopa. Above the entire scene were the words Blood Whistle in bright red neon letters. Bowser's face had to have been 10 times more evil than I had ever seen. His green shell was cracked, and his white spines had been dipped in blood. Blood was... what? Why does Bowser have multiple spines? You can do that. I guess turtles are just like that. I lost my place now. Blood was fresh on his teeth, also as his serpentine tongue licked them, making clear his intentions on what to do with Mario after he had disposed of him. It was then I came to a dooming realization. Oh, his spikes? Maybe? Okay. Those are two different words. Mario can't die. The game won't let him. However many things are thrown at him. In however many ways he is brutally maimed, mortality will not escape him. For a time, that is. He will continue to be sustained by whatever dark force or sick mind that drives the rest of these occurrences to passing until the game's eventual end, in which he will ruefully and painfully perish. Now that that has been said, to continue today's experience. Oh. Suddenly, Von Koopa produced a dagger. It gleamed with uncanny realism in the light of the blood whistle sign that loomed above. After a brief pause, he began to slice Mario's chest open. Mario again brayed that fearful cry, a cry that implied he would die only to endure a torture of 10 times the magnitude. Tears streamed down his face as Vaughn removed his heart, still pumping. He handed it to Bowser, who ate it with a crunching chomp. Why is your heart crunchy, Mario? His sons laughed as he did this, blood flowing from Mario's exposed abdomen. With a bark from their twisted father, the sons shamelessly began to regurgitate and tear apart what was open. As they were doing this, Mario slowly turned his head towards me and uttered a single question through tears and blood. Why? I myself asked the very same question. Why would they treat him as an animal, if not less, for their amusement? Why would someone initiate the genesis of such a horrid contraption, a contraption in which life and death have no meaning and are manipulates, a contraption in which concepts such as morals, remorse, and mercy are completely foreign? It makes me shudder to think that there is someone sick enough out there to put a character through this kind of unbearable hell just to sit back and laugh. It makes me absolutely sick to my core. Oh, that reminds me of another thing. You're probably wondering as to why I complacently talk about Mario as if he's a human being, a human who suffers pain, sorrow, depression, starvation, and thirst, like the rest of us. A human who is also capable of feeling happiness, remorse, goodwill, and love like anyone else. It's because I am thoroughly convinced that he is. Please, don't stop following this blog because you think I'm insane. That will come later. I believe without a shadow of doubt that inside this game is a character with a complex range of emotions, someone who feels like you and me. But it's just a game, right? It's just a contrived mixture of code and data put together to present words and images, correct? Wrong. I know with everything inside of me that Mario has to be alive. I have seen him truly happy and truly sad. And at one point, I may even see him truly angry. He feels like any other living, breathing human being. I don't know how. I don't know why. I don't know how something so human could rise from something so truly inhuman. A character with a soul seemed completely impossible to me before I played this hack. I now have a goal with this game: to keep this poor creature safe. I suppose I now know the real truth. I'll see you all tomorrow. Same place, same time. Man, I just thought Mario was a pile of pixels. Me too, buddy. June 9th, 2012. It's me again. I had a horrible range of nightmares last night that are a direct result of playing this game. Some really weird stuff also went down. Before I get into today's gameplay, I'll have to go through them with you guys, so I'll have an interactive record of my dreaming habits related to this game. I myself am having a hard time as to how they were so close to home and what they mean for my seemingly inevitable downfall. Before I tell this, I have to let you in on a piece of relevant information. In the 4th grade, I used to play the recorder. Every kid had to learn some musical skill, and I liked wind instruments because of their method of play, appearance, and sound. Such is the irony of the instrument that has caused me all of this grief. In my dream, I was playing the instrument in a dark room. I was my 4th grade self, just coolly playing Mary Had a Little Lamb. Out of nowhere, I began to cough. I had choked on some blood that had materialized within and around my recorder. It covered it and soon filled it. Blood began to pour in great quantity out of all of the recorder's holes. It soon began to float in midair and hover. A few seconds passed, and then it struck me in the chest. It had impaled me, going directly through my heart and every other vital artery one could think of. I woke up, the sheets plastered to my bare chest with sweat. I was completely fine, not a scratch on me. As I sat there in bed, afraid of how I'm sure the game did this, or maybe it was just me losing my sanity. Ah! Thank you for the follow. I began to hear noise coming from my laptop. It was closed, but a faint, muffled humming sound was clearly audible. I warily approached my computer, the machine almost looking alive. I then opened it up. It was a picture of an SMB3 Raccoon Mario sprite on a black backdrop. He was chained up by his legs and feet, and the chains reached outside of the screen. The blood whistle sat as the centerpiece of it all through Mario's chest. The tune of the blood whistle played over and over, a loop that only exacerbated the sound within the walls of my psyche. I tried exiting out of whatever this program might have been, but the window wouldn't close. I eventually had to take out my laptop battery, which didn't sit too well with my OS. Luckily, I didn't lose any files. Not for the gameplay. I was on a weak imitation of the World 3 level map. The water was none other than blood. Ravenous fish jumped out of the water, looks of primal hunger on their faces. There was something off about Mario's map representation that I noticed right away. Along with his raccoon tail, the blood whistle was now a permanent fixture through his body. His skin had dulled a little from its prior shade of gray, now more outwardly noticeable. His mustache now had dots of red clung to it as well. Without my or Mario's control, needless to say, I was moved to the first underwater stage. A cherry red tint absorbed the entire screen. This was to be expected, as the water looked blood-ridden from the outside as well. I swam down the left side of the level to get a fire mushroom. As soon as Mario got it and his outfit changed, he got an evil simper on his face. He looked at me and said, "Revenge, yes?" I confirmed his suspicions, and then we set off for the danger that lurked near. The fish cast malevolent gazes at Mario as he swam by, incinerating them. His normal, happy smile returned. So did mine. The annihilation of the carnivorous critters. The annihilation of the carnivorous critters didn't last long before both Mario and I faced a hellish dilemma. There was a large fish with rows of razor-sharp teeth. Below him were 2 power blocks, one black-looking and one purple-looking. I assumed that these were supposed to mean red and blue. Obviously, there was no progress from this point without finding out what these blocks had in store. Mario's expression changed back into its gaunt appearance, and that he has had for the majority of the game. Knowing I had no other choice, I dauntingly hit the block that was black in appearance on the left. The fish swam around from its position on top of us and began to tear off Mario's limbs. By this time, a group of fish had congregated around the entire scene. Their laughs were deep and short, registering as barks for the 8-bit sound processor. Mario's unable body wobbled as he bled out, spewing black across the red. When he finally died, the big fish began to laugh. After a couple of seconds, Mario's limbs regrew. With the blue block remaining, I hit it to get this all over with. Bubbles stopped coming from Mario's mouth. He cried out for help, but that only made the problem worse. He sucked in tons of water, his hands around his neck. His face began to grow from gray to blue in a matter of moments. He kicked and fought, but he only wore himself down. Getting angry, he began to incinerate random fish that had gathered in the crowd. The fish began to laugh louder. For every fish he killed, 2 more appeared in its place. After a while, he just gave up. I watched as Mario uttered his last gurgle on World 3, the blood whistle stabbing and taking him away. I saved and quit with haste. See you all tomorrow. Yeah, fire mushroom, that one's a little weird. Isn't it a fire flower? I don't know. Mario 3, that's not Super Mario World, there's a Mario 3. Fake Mario fan. Doesn't even remember, dude. I know there's just some random weird things in 2 and 3 that I don't really know very well. June 10th, 2012. This music is gonna get really loud. Oh, it's not too bad. Campus police gave me a visit today. Apparently, one of you have reported my comments related to suicide and claimed I was insane. As a result, I have eliminated all personal information from this blog. Why didn't you do that in the first place, bucko? I located the person who reported me and banned him. I also have an IP tracker, so don't any of you try that. Speaking of followers, 50,000?! I had never expected this page to accumulate this many active viewers. Wherever this popularity or notoriety came from, I am grateful. Now for today's gameplay. After today, I'll be lucky to finish the game. Princess Toadstool's letter appeared after the previous screen from World 3 faded out. She was squirming and shifting around. Bowser's hand covered her mouth and nose, but it was easy to see the fear in her eyes. They darted left and right in stark, true fear. Bowser continued to have that sadistic smile on his face as he struggled with her. After about a minute and a half, Peach began to change. Her eyes grew an ominous red. It's the wrong red, by the way. It's R-E-A-D. As she pushed Bowser's arm away with inhuman strength, she cackled like a loon, blue veins bulging so noticeably that they were clearly visible through her white satin gloves. Bowser then began to cower in timidity. The text on the letter said only this:
Blood whistle! Hear its cry! Peach!
The letter scene was abruptly cut off, and the World 4 level select map was brought into view. Goombas and Koopas of all sizes appeared, furious and hungry as ever. This addition made sense. This was the giant/tiny world. The shown enemies would be dimensioned as such. The normally green grass was withered and dead. The small patches of water were blood. Mario still was in the fireball fatigues that he donned in World 3. When compared to the other worlds, the map view for this one was vastly less disturbing. I would go as far as to call this tolerable. Mario moved towards 4-1 into whatever nightmarish scenario this stage had to offer. Cackle like a loon. Yeah. Ooh. The stage had the usual kinks of any level in this game. The sky was black, which made the white clouds vibrantly contrast. A reversed version of the ground level once again played. The wood, as it had been before, was decaying and wasting away beneath Mario's feet. The pipes were faded and cracked in various places. All of the enemies still possessed the same carnivorous looks of their intergame counterparts. There was, oddly enough, a startling abundance of them. Koopas and Goombas danced around in a ritualistic manner. Mario was visibly petrified as he tried to avoid them, my arrow keys keeping them inches away from his life. Amidst all of the din, there hovered a solitary power-up block. It was regular in appearance. Nothing was outwardly off about this, which greatly surprised me. Not knowing what horrid item it contained, I bumped it in blind vain, that maybe it could help me. You can most likely infer from the intonation I made in the preceding paragraph that I was completely mistaken. What appeared next is what I dreaded. That damn whistle. It was sitting there, blood washing over it as it rose from the yellow square. It sat there, almost beckoning my name. With the imposing enemies, I knew I had no other choice. I took the weapon from its place, fruitlessly hoping for the best, readily expecting the worst. The on-screen foes ceased all activity. Their faces returned to a neutral bank state. 5 minutes they stood in place like that. 5 minutes they stood in place like this, not moving a muscle. I jumped around and tried to kill them, but to no avail. It's almost as if they were frozen within the confines of time itself. As if, for specifically them, all interstellar and physical continuity came to a careening halt. Then they began to move. After the first couple did it, I realized what truly was going on. This was a mass suicide. Most of them just jumped in the nearest hole, while others performed incredible feats of acrobatics and medical possibility. One Koopa was bashing his head in on a pipe. Another Goomba jumped 6 or 7 times his own height, turned around in the air, and sent blood flying everywhere with a great splat. Soon all of the enemies were dead. The remains were spontaneously upchucked from the trench below. A grisly mixture of guts and gore littered the entire remainder of the level. Mario shuffled through the remains, horrified, with tears streaming on his face throughout. Random deep, bassy tones played with nothing else to accompany. Realistic squishy sounds were emitted every time Mario took a step in the scattered carnage. He continued to cry for the duration of the level. Thank you for the water. Everybody drink! The whistle faded into view and followed Mario a few inches above his head. Like a pestilential virus. After he cleared it, of course, the whistle went straight through his chest as Mario was headed to World 5. The game has a habit of putting me where it needs me to be, so I closed the window without saving. Witnessing all of that death really racked my nerves. Sure, it might be a game, but with the things this game has had to present to me, I'm starting to lose my perception on reality. I'm starting to wonder to myself what is real and what is inside the computer. These two things are quickly fusing into one. The lines, they're blurring. Pretty soon, the days will start fading together, and by then, I'll have lost all sense of reality. I hope to see you all tomorrow. I don't know how much longer I can put up with this game. No, it's not a game. I couldn't tell you what this is. Da-da-da. How many more we got? Alright. Got a chunk left. We got a chunk left. This has been my favorite one so far. Today being D-Day fits, because I'm fighting one hell of a war against this game, and a losing one at that. At least there are no more mishaps with you all so far, which puts me at rest. As of today's gameplay, I fear for my own life. I feel as if something is coming after me, lurking, seeking me out as to make immediate my demise. Never before has anything like this ever happened. Never before has anything electronic made me truly afraid, truly scared. I most likely will get no sleep tonight. Nothing in particular occurred. It's just... you'll find out below. I was in the middle of the cloud portion of World 5. The sky theme played, except it was drastically slow and demonic whispers were clearly audible. The whispers were almost the same as the ones I heard back in World 2. Mario was outfitted with the Tanuki suit, which naturally suited the environment. There was nothing there except two things: a red dot and a card game. The card game icon looked similar enough to its regular game clone, except the spades rolled across a red background instead of a blue one. Now, for whatever reason, I was allowed to choose which path to take. I chose to do the card game, hoping it would serve as some sort of reprieve from all the madness. I was not the right choice. Toad didn't explain the rules of the game like normal. Instead, I was plunged into the rolling slots. Beside the slots was a risky scenario. Toad was on a guillotine. He looked at the camera with timid, teary eyes. He also was vigorously shaking his head. He shook his hands in a futile effort to free himself from this appalling apparatus, but nothing came of it. The entire picture engulfed me so much I didn't even notice the slots. I cautiously pressed them, trying as best I could to line them up given the stress of the situation. I failed and had to pay the personal price. Mario saw trap. The blade fell with breathtaking speed. Toad was beheaded right then and there. His head did a couple of spins in the air before landing in a conveniently placed nearby basket. Slam dunk. The initial spins flayed blood across the white room. Blood filled the basket and filled it up. Toad's body spraying blood from the stump where his head used to be. Out of nowhere, the blood whistle came down and struck his torso. The scene faded out and back to the map. I was moved to the only remaining destination in World 5. Silent lightning streaked across the licorice black sky. Gray clouds and Mario were the only other consistently visible things. As far as everything goes, silhouettes of winged demons flew and danced in the background. I tried turning into the stone structure the Tanuki suit is so famous for, but it failed. No music at all. Or no music played. None at all. The demons would be heard whispering in what sounded like a variety of languages. Spanish, German, and Latin were the most prevalent ones. A primal fear of the unknown gripped me as I blindly navigated the level. Judging by the look on Mario's face, it plagued him also. This stemmed from childhood, which made it all the worse. I not only felt like Mario was in danger, I felt like my livelihood and well-being were in danger. At that moment, one of the demons swooped down. I would say the most accurate way to describe the creature would be a miniature Cthulhu. Its claws plucked out Mario's eyes, making them profusely bleed. He unleashed an ephemeral, yet bone-chilling cry. After the searing pain relented, Mario trudged on. His face was now void of any and all expression. It was because he knew as well as I did that he would be torn apart. Brutally and slowly, but it would happen. After a few more seconds, the second demon came. It was identical in appearance to the first. It swooped down with grim, black bat wings and did its portion of damage. After it was said and done, the thing had torn Mario's arms off. Mario stopped dead in his tracks. He sobbed loudly, knowing the worst was yet to come. I felt so sorry for him that the words escaped me. He continued with a morose look. His normal walk slowed to a shuffle. Not a few seconds after that, the final solitary specter came down. He did his work with one big slash. Mario was now without his legs, and his lump of a body sat there, He sadly wept in utter despair. He knew the end was near. He tuned to me and choked out this. "I'm sorry you had to witness this. Everything." Those were his last spoken words on World 5, before a gaggle of Hell's minions descended and tore apart what remained of him. His entrails were liberally exposed as they regurgitated in their cruel feast. When the dust cleared, a mere shell of him remained. All you could see of his open stomach were his open spine and back muscles. As I had predicted, the blood whistle came to transport him into whatever hellish situation it contemplated would be worse than the last. Consider it sheer luck if I make another post tomorrow. If I do, it may be my last. Spoiler alert, it isn't. There's one more after this one. June 12th, 2012. I'm starting to not care anymore. I am in the throes of such a severe depression, it's all starting to fade away. Everything. School, friends, family. It's safe to say this game is single-handedly ruining my life. Such sadness has never become me ever before in my life. My grandfather died when I was young, but that didn't close to equate what I'm feeling now. It's a direct result of the level that I played today, which I'll get into right now. World 6 appeared. Ice was everywhere. This is the one part that correlated to the unaltered version. Nothing else did. The ice was none other than frozen, realistic blood. Crystallized pieces of crimson droplets bordered the ice blocks. Blood filled in the small pockets of water that were. Of course, there was only a solitary dot on the map. Mario entered it, and I knew that whatever was to pass, it would be tenfold of what had already happened. Pure sable white was the only thing that constituted of the backdrop. Blocks of blood, ice, served as a slippery ground. Mario slid along as I controlled him. He appeared happy, overjoyed. Might be more accurate. Here he had nothing to deal with, just him and the open space. 5 minutes passed, then 10. All the way through, Mario was happy as I let him run around and fly. He had regained the raccoon tail. It seemed like he had all the time in the world. The clock ticked and ticked, and all seemed right in the game. Making my way through the level, I found out it had no end. Time, oddly enough, would turn out to be the ultimate enemy. At the 20-minute mark, a tempest began to pick up. A flurry of snow and wind ensnared Mario, and he now began to curl his tail. His teeth chattered and his body shook. He soon had to sit down. Mario and I soon figured out how the game planned to snuff him out this time, with ice and time. He sat and tried to heat himself. This, needless to say, was a less than feeble attempt. Nothing but the creepy bass beats from the World 5 played. Mario's skin soon began to turn a light blue. Nevertheless, he still sat and brooded in the icy cold. It was then that the utmost feeling of sadness had encapsulated me. I couldn't fathom my sympathy. I couldn't begin to describe how bad I felt at the fact that his death was absolutely inevitable, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. Just simply watch in shock and dejected awe. Frostbite soon took his hands. 10 minutes after that, World 6 Mario was no more. Just a frozen block of a man, sitting there in the middle of an infinite winter wilderness. After the sadness came feelings of sheer loneliness. I felt abandoned and alone. Just like Mario sitting in the middle of that ice field. I felt as if no one would save me from the torture of this game. Bro, turn it off! Stop playing it! The blood whistle came down and made a chunk sound. What's that sound like? As it impaled his chest, taking him to the next level of hell. I closed the emulator window like always and ended this self-subjected torture. I will bring myself to play the game tomorrow, but mark my words, I'll play the last tomorrow, and then this blog will, hopefully, live on in my memory. so my tribulation can be seen by the world. Be here. Same time. Same place. Last entry, June 13th, 2012. It is ironic indeed that today is June the 13th, the unlucky number, the unlucky day. I suppose today isn't completely horrible. Today is the last day I had to play this wretched game. This horrifyingly absurd remake of what I used to see as a wonderful game will soon be out of my life, along with everything else. With this being the last post, I suppose I can finally be honest about my true intentions ever since I finished World 2. I'm going to take my own life. This game has caused me sorrow on such an ineffable level that there is no other option. Life will never be the same. Mom and Dad, I love you. Michael and Kelsey, you guys be good. Listen to Mom and Dad. They have a lot of valuable lessons to teach you. Lessons that I learned but can now never apply again. Now for what you 75,000 followers read this post for. Rest of the game. Hell itself is what the game brought me to. I suppose that this was intention to convey World 8. No, not hell. Worse than hell. Bodies were chained up in the background, enduring a myriad of tortures. The only pain wasn't strictly felt from injuries, though. The coughs, dying wheezes, and vomiting in the background reeked of pestilence and suffering. Fires emblazoned certain people as well. The flames had actual burning quality to them. Not like regular 8-bit fire. Flesh, eyes, and other internal organs and tissue constituted the walls and ground. If the hell I'm certainly going to exist, I think it looks something like this. Mario stood before a possessed Princess Toadstool. Her dress was ripped in several places and splattered with blood. Her eyes gleamed red, the flames casting an evilly maniacal allure to her appearance. Bowser and his 6 sons were tied to wooden poles with terrified looks on their faces. Wendy, for some reason, didn't appear anywhere in this game. In one hand, Peach brandished a sizable dagger, in the other, the blood whistle. She walked over to Bowser and looked him in the eyes. Technical limitations slightly hindered the interpretation of what events passed, but it was easy enough to understand what was going on. Through his gag, Bowser pleaded with her not to harm him. She brought the knife close to him and he froze up. He was obviously paralyzed with fear. Her mouth got close to his ear and text rolled along at the bottom of the screen, conveying the text of what played out given the sound limitations. This is what enabled Mario to speak in the past. Shh, she whispered. Bowser's innards spilled onto the floor in a great heap. He let out a monstrous 8-bit roar of pain as this happened. Peach laughed, her red eyes reflecting whatever evil had possessed her. The princess proceeded to eviscerate all 6 of his other sons. Mario did nothing but look on in horror as his mortal enemies were torn apart by a woman he had once loved very much. His face soon contorted into one of loathing. He had come all this way to find out. The very girl he wished to save had been taken over by an extraterrestrial evil, an evil that would not only haunt Mario, but me as well. The sort of evil that doesn't go away when you turn off the game. The kind of dark force that follows you to your bedchambers and steals your soul. Princess Toadstool paused for a couple of seconds, then came at Mario with the knife.
Hey there, Mario,
she said as she toyed with the knife. Is this still Peach?
They got a little sharp with me, so I pushed them over the edge.
I can't do a Peach voice. I tried to move Mario, but nothing happened. He stood there, afraid of what she would do. She brutally slashed open his arms, legs, and abdomen. Shortly thereafter, the princess produced some salt from her billowing dress and sprinkled it all over him. She produced the salt. He screamed again, unmoving.
The Princess Peach you used to know is long gone. The power of the blood whistle consumed that girl and made way for me. And speaking of which,
she continued, as she produced the blood whistle.
Here it is. Hear its cry.
With a mocking kiss on the cheek, she began to play Mario the perverse song of the blood whistle. Its notes rotted away the last reserve of good in me. He was heaved by an invisible force into the flames. He cried out as they consumed him. Peach chucked the whistle, making it strike him directly in the heart. He continued to wallow in utter anguish as she walked away. As she laughed, he looked into my eyes and bore me this parting message via the text at the bottom of the screen.
Do not let your life be as painful as mine was. I do not hold reservations against you, as you tried your best to keep me alive. Is this Mario?
Okay, this is Mario. Do not let your life be as painful as mine was. I do not hold reservations against you. You tried your best to keep me alive. I commend you for that. Goodbye, Bradley, and good luck. The tune of the blood whistle continued to play as the screen panned out of Mario's hell. How he knew my name is Bradley continues to befuddle me. How he could have such depth, such personality. I don't know whether this is a result of the game being as haunted as it truly is, or the fact that someone's could have been captured inside of this ROM. Whatever the reason of this, of everything that has come to pass with this abomination, I'm glad I'm finally done. I have made all of my goodbyes at the beginning of this post. I hope one of you takes the time to save this blog, or at the very least, to show the world the true hell I have put myself through. I sure hope that the demented creator of this game isn't festering in the same hell I'm headed for. Goodbye, everyone. Aftermath. This blog was the last recorded statement of Bradley before his death. His roommate discovered him 4 hours after he made the last post. Bradley committed suicide using a recorder that he plunged through his trachea. Thank you so much for playing my game. Ah! That was Blood Whistle. I got it confused with another creepypasta.
I would have turned the game off. Built different.
Yeah, built different. Morse built different. But yeah, that was Blood Whistle. It's a longer one. It was a longer one. It took about an hour to read that one. But I enjoyed it. It was very stupid. It was incredibly dumb. It was incredibly melodramatic. Very, not believable at all. I think I got it confused with another Mario creepypasta where Luigi ended up being the bad guy in the end, and he was like, "You thought Koopa worked alone?" That one was funny. I would have not stabbed a recorder into myself. I simply would have speedrun the game. I also wanted to apologize. I'm sorry I'm not responding to chat as much. It's just when I get into reading something, I will glance over at chat and I will read what you're saying, but I won't read things out loud, especially if they're longer. The shorter comments I will read out loud. But I may not get to everybody's chat message today and engage, but who's Mort? Mort is my, what the fuck is it called? He's my... I forgot. He's my son. Mort, what's your favorite color? I think he's colorblind. No, he's not my familiar. That was Moonpie. He was assigned, probation officer, that's the word. I always forget the word. He's my probation officer because I wasn't allowed. I did not have a permit to make a familiar. Black? You like black? See, he's colorblind. He doesn't know. But he was sent from the underworld to make sure I don't get into shenanigans anymore. So, he hates me. He hates me and I love him. He is my son. And check this out. He has a little hat. He's a little seaman. Moonpie's fine. I just wanted a better TTS bot. I found, okay, here's the story. Here's the real story. I found this specific TTS voice and I loved it, and I was like, this wouldn't fit Moonpie though. And I was like, you know what? I kind of want a TTS bot that is more on brand for me, because as much as I love Moonpie, my cat, who still exists by the way, she's a real cat. I was getting a little tired of people inputting TTS jokes like, this is weird. Like TTS things like, "Mother, please feed me," and I had to be like, who the fuck is your mother? Who the fuck? "Mother, mom, please feed me," and I'm like, it's not funny ever. It's never funny. And also, stop calling me mother.
Bussy.
Also, Mort says bussy, really funny. Anyway, I should probably take a break and refill my water. You guys should refill your water too. Next creepypasta contains content that is not safe for work. I will decide whether or not it's safe for Twitch as I read it. I was told this is an actual good one. I skimmed it earlier, but I'm gonna read it for real now. Let's see. Okay. From me skimming it, there was potentially somewhat upsetting stuff in here. But it seems, at least in this article, or this version of it, they may have, okay, yeah. We have removed a sentence from this story that referred to animal cruelty and abuse. So there is none of that. There is none of that. All right, let's get on with it. This one is not that long. Not that long. But not a super short one either. But I did want to throw it out there that this one might be a little, much. But I feel like reading... Why? Alright, BRB again. Hi, sorry. I got a phone call. I now have... I think, a hard time. That's not the right term. I have a definite time I need to end stream now, because now I have something to do at a specific time. Let me see. I'm checking something real quick. Please, just work. Oh, okay. I can go a little longer than I expected. Alright. We can go like an hour longer. Cool. Okay. Let's actually read this now. Thanks for the water. Everybody drink. Even you, Blake. Take a big old gulp of water. Everyone. That's for everyone. That's why it's named that. Everyone.
James.
It's Mary.
James.
Good. Drink the water. Let's start the next one. Everybody knows that if you surf the web long enough, you'll see some pretty sick shit. This is especially true if you intentionally dive into the dark underbelly of the internet. I've seen quite a few things I don't care to admit to, but one thing that I'll always remember is a site called normalpornfornormalpeople.com. The first strange thing about the site was that I didn't find it by actually looking for it. It was emailed to me by someone I didn't know. The email was as follows. Hi there. Found this site. Is very nice. Thought you might like. Normal porn for normalpeople.com. Pass it on for the good of mankind. Yeah, I added this to the list because you recommended it, Spike. Pretty standard issue chain letter, although the URL and the last remark really piqued my curiosity. I was having a very boring day when I got this, so I made sure my antivirus was working and then clicked on it. It was a very average, very generic looking site. It gave the impression that the creators just barely gave a shit about making it look professional. The author seemed to have a very tenuous grasp on English, and on the front page was a long, boring, and incoherent rant that I don't remember or have saved. The site had a strange tagline, which even today, people haven't figured out the meaning of, which was, Normal Porn for Normal People, a website dedicated to the eradication of abnormal sexuality. And from the sound of that, I wasn't sure whether I was here to watch porn, or if I'd stumbled onto some kind of eugenics program, but I was here now, and I was very, very curious to see what normal people got their rocks off to. So I scrolled down through the rant and nothing. The page didn't seem to link to anywhere else, and I was about to leave when I noticed that every word of the rant was its own hyperlink. I clicked one of them and was sent to a white page with a very long list of links in the form of normalpornfornormalpeople.com/random letters. So I stopped for a minute and asked myself if I really wanted to waste God knows how much time clicking random links that would likely give me a virus that would ruin my computer. I figured I'd try it for maybe 5 minutes, just to see if anything came up. I clicked one of the links and was sent to another page. This page apparently had totally different URLs than the last one. I was just about to say, fuck this, when I clicked on the third link and a video download came up. It was called peanut.avi, a 30-minute video of a man, a woman, and a dog in a kitchen. The woman made a peanut butter sandwich, and the man set it down for the dog to eat. This is all that happened for 30 minutes. It was obvious that the cameraman had to stop filming and wait until the dog was ready to eat again, and the dog seemed rather sick by the end of it. I know what you're thinking. What the hell does that have to do with porn? I have no clue. I've seen a little over 24 videos from this site, and the majority had no sexual activity at all. After watching peanut.avi, I went on a certain image board I frequent to play online show and tell, like I always do with weird shit like this, but someone had already made a thread about it. A guy who'd received the same chain letter I did. The image board thread had lots of people with nothing better to do than dig through the site. That's how I saw other videos. Most of those 24 videos were very uneventful, consisted of people talking to the cameraman in a room with nothing in it but a desk and a few chairs. I mean, literally nothing on the walls or in terms of furniture. The whole room had a very cold, sterile feel to it. Conversations were idle banter about previous jobs or embarrassing childhood moments. I kept expecting some kind of discussion about what the people were filming or what the site was about, but of course, nothing. You would never know these videos had anything to do with porn if you saw it out of context. I will say one thing, though. People who appeared in these videos were quite attractive. I'm imagining the videos like the you could shop at 5 or 6 stores, or just one. Like that video, that's what all these videos are to me right now. However, the other videos that actually did feature content I suppose could be called sexual is where things got weird. I'll give brief descriptions of the stranger videos. if you're really eaten up with curiosity, you can try to hunt them down on a torrent site. LickedClean.avi. A 10-minute video filmed by a hidden camera in which we see a repairman working on a washing machine for the first 2 minutes. When it's fixed, the repairman talks to the owner briefly and then leaves. Owner checks to make sure the repairman is gone and begins to lick all over the top of the washing machine. This goes on for 7 minutes. Jimbo.avi. A 5-minute video of an obese mime performing his act. It was actually pretty funny, particularly one part where he pretends to pull up a chair that pretends that it breaks because of his weight. In the last 30 seconds of the video, the camera cuts to static briefly and cuts back to the man sobbing quietly, still wearing a mime outfit and makeup. Some kind of obscure fetish? Diana.avi. I'm like scanning over these before reading them to make sure I can say them out loud. I think I can read like more like sexual stuff on Twitch. I don't think it's that much of a problem. 4-minute video in which the cameraman talks to a woman in a room different from the interview room. This room looks like one you'd find in a normal person's house. Exactly where they are is never specified, as Diana only talks about her violin playing. She obviously plays her violin, but keeps getting distracted by something. I didn't notice this until someone on the image board thread pointed it out, but if you look at the mirror in the background, you can see a fat man in a chicken mask, masturbating. Jessica.avi. Okay. I'm scanning them before I read them, I'm sorry. Another 4-minute cameraman video. This time he's outside a house, talking to another young woman. They talk about canoe rides. The camera zooms out to reveal the city streets behind them occasionally. The strange thing is that no one so far has been able to identify where the street is. Guesses have ranged everywhere from Europe to Australia to the Philippines, but there's yet to be a match for the street shown in the video. Tonguetied.avi. 10-minute video. The first 5 minutes consist of an elderly woman making out with a mannequin. The video cuts out like it did with Jimbo.avi halfway through, and the scene is then a group of mannequins, huddled together in a circle around the camera. The lights have been dimmed, and the elderly woman is nowhere to be seen. From this point on, there is no sound. Stumps.avi. Alright. 5-minute long video where a man with no legs is attempting to break dance on a DDR mat in what looks like the kitchen from Peanut.avi, but much dirtier. There's a radio playing music unseen in the background, but it stops at the 4-minute mark when the man collapses on the mat in exhaustion. He breathes heavily and pleads with someone off-screen to let him rest. This off-screen person becomes terrifyingly enraged and yells at him to keep dancing, which he does. You can hear this off-screen person begin to scream as the video ends abruptly. Privacy.avi. The woman from Diana.avi is masturbating on a mattress in the interview room, while the man from Stumps.avi walks around on his hands, wearing some kind of goblin mask. The door in this room was always closed in other videos, but it's now open. In this video, the only light is in the room, and the hallway is dark. Near the end of the video, you can see an animal quickly run through the hallway. Gosh, I used to see videos like this on the paranormal board on 4chan. X. There are tons of unnerving videos like this on X. And finally, the last video we covered. From my skimming, this one was like probably the most upsetting, but it's just your standard like fucked up scary shit. Useless.avi. In this 18-minute video, a blonde woman from one of the previous interview videos is tied down to a mattress in the interview room. She attempts to scream, but her mouth is taped over. After 7 minutes, a man in a black suit and a mask opens the door, but he does not enter. He holds the door open for the animal that was running in the hall in the previous video. It's revealed to be an adult chimpanzee, its hair shaved, and its entire body painted red. When the chimp enters the room, the masked man closes the door behind it. The chimpanzee sniffs the air for a moment, it may have been blind, and notices the woman tied to the mattress. It goes into a frenzy and begins to maul her. The assault goes on for a grueling 7 minutes, until the woman finally dies. The chimp eats flesh from her corpse for 4 minutes as the video ends. The thread exploded with activity after this video was uncovered, and people discussed it long into the night. When I came back to the image board the next day, I found that it had been deleted. I tried to start another one, and they banned me. I tried emailing the guy who sent me the chain letter with the site's URL. I sent him 5 messages and never got a response. I have tried to discuss this website on various places and have been banned frequently. The site itself was also deleted about 3 days after useless.avi was uncovered, likely because someone contacted the authorities about it. The only proof that normal porn for normalpeople.com ever existed was a few screen caps people took and videos from the site that people saved and uploaded on torrents. The most popular of which was useless.avi, which found its way onto a few gore sites. Wherever you upload them to, all of the videos from normal porn for normalpeople.com get deleted after a while. And that's normal porn for normal people. I like that one a lot. That one's actually good. Oh. Where will you be at random red chimp event? I like this one because it felt like a real website from the 2000s. Correct. I knew websites like this. I have seen some pretty heinous shit on the internet in the early 2000s. This is actually believable to me. If somebody told me this was a real story, I'd be like, okay, you know what? I believe it. I believe it, actually. Good suggestion. Good fucking suggestion. Alright, let's see. Why is nothing working? I remember liking this one when I was a kid. But will it hold up? Don't know. Let's find out. Let's find out. Okay. It's a very short one. Most of my favorite ones were incredibly short. So. Oh. Candle Cove is on my list of possible ones I'll read. I don't think I'm gonna read all of them. I'm just randomly picking them. I remember Omegle and Chat Roulette. Ugh. I feel like Omegle and Chat Roulette, there's a lot of potential with creepypasta there. I miss the early internet, and I'm also glad it's gone. While I enjoyed my time spent, I'm glad that future kids don't necessarily have to go through the same shit we did. Yeah, they go through different shit that's awful when it comes to the internet. Ugh. Not a fan of the complete sanitization of the internet in the name of think of the children, but shit like that was legitimately crazy for kids to ever have access to. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, I saw so many heinous things. that I will not repeat the names of because then you'll look it up out of curiosity. Alright, let's get a short one out of the way. A few years ago, a mother and father decided they needed a break, so they wanted to head out for a night on the town. They called their most trusted babysitter. When the babysitter arrived, the two children were already fast asleep in bed. So the babysitter just got to sit around and make sure everything was okay with the children. Later that night, the babysitter got bored and went to watch TV. But she couldn't watch it downstairs because they did not have cable downstairs. The parents didn't want children watching too much garbage. So she called them and asked them if she could watch cable in the parents' room. Of course, the parents said it was okay, but the babysitter had one final request. She asked if she could cover up the angel statue outside the bedroom window with a blanket or cloth because it made her nervous. The phone line was silent for a moment. The father was talking to the babysitter at the time, said, "Take the children and get out of the house, and we'll call the police. We don't own an angel statue." When I read this, it was a clown statue! They fucked it up. That's a short one. I like the short ones. The statue. What's next? Another short one! This was my favorite for the longest time. I read this one to my mom and she had nightmares and couldn't sleep. And it's so... my mom has no tolerance for horror. Right. This one's even shorter, if you can believe it. I love this one. You are home alone, and you hear on the news about the profile of a murderer who is on the loose. You look out the sliding glass doors to your backyard, and you notice a man standing out in the snow. He fits the profile of the murderer exactly. He is smiling at you. You gulp, picking up the phone to your right and dialing 911. You look back out at the glass as you press the phone to your ear and notice he is much closer to you now. You then drop the phone in shock. There are no footprints in the snow. It's his reflection. Yeah! I love the version of the statue story and the call goes, "Get the fuck out of my house. I love my clown statue and you've insulted it. I hate you." Oh, I love these classic short creepypastas. They're so good. Oh man. Footsteps in the snow, my beloved. Alright. Alright, let's do another classic. Speaking of who was phone. Let's do another classic. I gotta get close to the mic for this one. Man and girl go out to drive under moonlight. They stop on a side of road. He turned to his girl and say, "Baby, I love you very much." "What is it, honey?" "Our car is broken down. I think the engine is broken." "I'll walk and get some more fuel." "Okay, I'll stay here and look after our stereo. There have been news report of steers being stolen." "Good idea. Keep the doors locked no matter what. I love you, sweaty." So the guy left to get full for the car. After 2 hours, the girl say, "Where is my baby? He was supposed to be back by now." Then the girl hear a scratching sound and voice say, "Let me in." The girl doesn't do it, and then after a while, she goes to sleep. The next morning, she wakes up and finds her boyfriend still not there. She gets out to check, and man door, hand hook car door. Classic. Alright, how long is this one? I gotta do this one. It's about 20 minutes. Have you never heard that one, Blake? Oh, that's a classic. That's the meme. All right. I'm making sure I'm actually at the creepypasta. Oh, this looks longer than 20 minutes. Whatever. Whatever! Thank you for the bits! Young man, take the breadsticks and run. I said, young man, man door, hand hook, car gun. Alright, gamers, are we ready? You're gonna know what this one is right away as soon as I read the first fucking sentence. I'm a total Sonic the Hedgehog fan, much like everyone else. I like the newer games, but I don't mind playing the classics. I don't think I've ever played glitchy or hacked games before, though I don't think I want to play any after the experience I had. It started as a nice summer afternoon. I was playing Sonic Unleashed. I liked how you get to explore the towns in it, until I noticed, out of my peripheral vision, that the mailman had arrived and put something in my mailbox as usual and left. I paused my game to go see what I got in the mail. The only thing in the mailbox was a CD case for computers and a note. I took it inside. I looked at the note first and realized it was from my dear friend Kyle, let's just call him that, whom I hadn't heard from in 2 weeks. I know that because I recognize his handwriting, though what was weird is how it looked. It looked badly written and scratchy and somewhat difficult to read, as if Kyle was having a hard time writing it down, and did it in a hurry. This is what he wrote. Tom, I can't take it anymore. I had to get rid of this thing somehow before it was too late, and I was hoping you'd do it for me. I can't do it. He's after me, and if you don't destroy this CD, he'll come after you too. He's too fast for me. Please, Tom, destroy this godforsaken disc before he comes after you too. It's too late for me. Destroy the disc and you'll destroy him, but do it quick, otherwise he'll catch you. Don't even play the game. It's what he wants. Just destroy it, please. Kyle. Well, that was certainly weird. Even though Kyle is my best friend and I haven't seen him in 2 weeks, I didn't do what he asked me. I didn't think that a simple gaming disc would do anything bad to him. After all, it's just a game, right? Boy, was I wrong about that. Anyway, I looked at the disc, and it looks like any ordinary computer CDR disc, except it had black marker on it written sonic.exe. And it was much unlike Kyle's handwriting, meaning that he must have gotten it from someone else, like a pawn shop or eBay. When I saw Sonic on the writing of the CD, I was actually excited and wanted to play it since I'm a big Sonic fan. I went up to my room and turned on my computer and put the disc in and installed the game. When the title screen popped up, I noticed that it was the first Sonic game. I was like, awesome! Because like I said earlier, I like the classics. The first thing I noticed that was out of place was when I pressed start, there was a split second where I saw the title image turned into something much different, something that I now consider horrifying before cutting to black. I remember what the image looked like in that split second before the game cut to black. The sky had darkened, the title emblem was rusted and ruined, the Sega 1991 was now instead Sega 666, and the water had turned red like blood, except it looked hyper-realistic. But the freakiest thing that was in that split-second frame was Sonic. His eyes were pitch black and bleeding with 2 glowing red dots staring right at me. and his smile had stretched wider up to the edge of his face. I was rather disturbed about that image when I saw it, though I figured that it was just a glitch and forgot about it. After it cut to black, it stayed like that for about 10 seconds or so, and then another weird thing happened. It stayed like that for 10 seconds, and you went, ah! Oh, well. The save file from Sonic the Hedgehog 3 popped up, and I was like, what the fuck? What's this doing in the first Sonic game? Anyway, then I noticed something off. The background was the dark, cloudy sky of the bad Stardust Speedway level from Sonic CD, and there were only 3 save files. The music was that creepy caverns of winter music from Earthbound, only it was extended and seemed to have been in reverse. And the image for the save file where you see a preview of the level you're on is just red static for all 3 files. What freaked me out more was the character select. It showed only Tails, Knuckles, and to my surprise, Dr. Robotnik. Now I was sure that something was up. I mean, how can you play as Robotnik in a classic Sonic game, for crying out loud? That's when I realized that this wasn't a glitchy game. It was a hacked game. Yeah, it definitely looked hacked. It was really creepy, but as a smart gamer, I wasn't scared, or at least I tried not to be. I told myself that it was just a hacked game and there's nothing wrong with that. Anyways, shaking off the creeped out feeling, I picked file 1 and chose Tails, and when I selected and got started, the game froze for about 5 seconds, and I heard a creepy, pixelated laugh that sounded an awful lot like Kefka guy. Like that Kefka guy from Final Fantasy, before cutting to black. You know what? I vaguely... Because they used the Kefka laugh in Final Fantasy VII. I feel like somebody may have been like, oh, sonic.exe when that laugh played. And I was like, what are you talking about? It's been so long. The screen stayed black for about 10 seconds or more. Then it showed the typical level title thing, except the simplistic shapes were different shades of red, and the text showed only Hill Act 1. The screen faded in, and the level title vanished, revealing Tails in the Green Hill Zone from Sonic 1. The music was different, though. It sounded like a peaceful melody in reverse. Anyway, I started playing and had Tails start running like you would in any of the classic Sonic games. What was odd was that as Tails was running along the level, there was nothing but flat ground and a few trees for 5 minutes. That was when the peaceful music started to lower down into slow, deep tones, very slowly, as I kept going. I suddenly saw something and I stopped to see what it was. It was one of the small animals lying dead on the ground, bleeding. That was when the music started to slow down. Tails had a shocked and saddened look on his face that I never saw him have before. So I had him move along, and he kept that worried look on his face. As he kept moving, I saw more dead animals as Tails moved past them, looking more and more worried as the music lowers and he moves past more dead animals. I was shocked to see how they all died. They looked like somebody killed them in rather gruesome ways. A squirrel was hanged on a tree with what appeared to be his entrails hanging out. A bunny had all 4 of his limbs torn off, and a duck had his eyes gouged out and his throat slit. I felt sick to my stomach when I saw this massacre, and apparently so did Tails. After a few more seconds, there were no more animals, and the music seemed to have stopped. I still kept Tails to continue. After a minute passed, after the music stopped, Tails was running uphill, and then he stopped. It wasn't until I saw why. Sonic was there on the other side of the screen with his back against Tails, with his eyes closed. Tails looked happy to see Sonic, but then his smile faltered, obviously noticing that Sonic wasn't responding to him, not acting as if he was totally oblivious to Tails' presence. Tails walked slowly towards Sonic, and I noticed that I wasn't even moving my keyboard to make him move, so this had to have been a cutscene. Suddenly, I began to have a growing feel of dread as Tails walked closer to Sonic to get his attention. I felt that Tails was in danger, and something bad was going to happen. I heard faint static growing louder as Tails was but inches away from Sonic, and stopped and stuck his hands out to touch him. That foreboding feeling in my gut was growing stronger. and I felt the urge to tell Tails to get away from Sonic as the static grew louder. Suddenly, in a split second, I saw Sonic's eyes open, and they were black with those red glowing dots, just like that title image. Thought there wasn't a smile, though there wasn't a smile. That's a typo. When that happened, the screen turned black and the static sound was off. It stayed black for about 7 seconds, and then white text appeared, forming a message saying, "Hello. Do you want to play with me?" At this point, I was creeped out. I didn't want to continue with the game, but my curiosity got the better of me when I was taken to a different level, and the level title now saying Hide and Seek. This time, I was in the Angel Island level from Sonic 3, and it looked like everything was on fire. Tails looked as though he was scared out of his wits this time. He actually looked at me and made frantic gestures to me as if he wanted to get out of the area he was in as fast as possible. I was starting to get freaked out by this. I mean, Tails was actually breaking the fourth wall, trying to tell me to get him out of there. So I pressed down on the arrow keys as hard as I could and made him run as fast as he could. A pixelated version of that creepy theme when you meet Shadow at the Ark as Robotnik from SA2 was playing as I made Tails trek through the desolate forest, trying to help him escape from whatever he was trying to run from. Suddenly I heard that creepy laugh again, that awful Kefka laugh, right after 10 seconds have passed as I helped Tails run through the forest, and then I started seeing flashes of Sonic popping everywhere on the screen, again with those black and red eyes. The music changed to that suspenseful, drowning jingle as I see Sonic behind Tails, slowly gaining up on him, flying. Sonic wasn't running. He was actually flying. The flying pose his sprite was making looked very similar to Metal Sonic's flying pose in Sonic CD, except it was just Sonic, and he had the black and red eyes again, only this time, he had the most deranged looking grin on his face. He looked as though he was enjoying the torment he was giving the poor little fox as he gained up on him. Oh. This music keeps fucking up. Suddenly, when Tails tripped, another cutscene. The music stopped and Sonic vanished. Tails laid there and started crying for 15 seconds. The scene was rather upsetting to watch, and I kind of teared up myself. But then Sonic appeared right in front of Tails, and Tails looked up in horror. Blood started to come down those blackened eyes of Sonic's as a grin slowly grew from his face as he looked down at the horrified fox. I could do nothing but watch. Just in a split second, Sonic lunged at Tails right before the screen went black. There was a loud screeching noise that only lasted 5 seconds. The text returned, only this time it said, "You're too slow. Wanna try again?" And then that god-awful laugh came with it. I was so shocked by what had happened. Did Sonic murder Tails? No, he couldn't have. He and Tails are supposed to be best friends, right? Why did Sonic do that to him? I shook the shock off as I was brought back to the character select. The save file that had Tails was different. Tails was no longer in the box itself, but in the TV screen itself, which was flickering with that red static. Tails' expression scared me. His eyes were black and bleeding. His orange fur had gone black, and he had an expression of anguish on his face. Trying to ignore it, I picked Knuckles next. Oh yeah, the game version has to use Kefka's laugh. I honestly, I don't think I've ever read this creepypasta. I've only seen the creepypasta game. The laugh came again and the screen cut to black and stayed there for another 10 seconds. This time the level said, "You can't run." I was really freaked out by now. I couldn't really tell if this was a glitch or a hack or some kind of sick, twisted joke or anything really, but despite my fear of what happened next, I kept playing. The next level looked much different. It had the ground of the scrap brain zone, but the sky background looked like the main menu. It had the dark, reddish, cloudy sky, but it was the music that creeped me out the most. It sounded like Gygas's theme right after you beat Pokey in Earthbound. I also noticed that Knuckles looked afraid, just like Tails did. Though not as much. More rather, he looked a little unnerved. He broke the fourth wall just like Tails and looked as if he wasn't sure about going on, but I made him move anyway. He ran down the straight pathway in the dark level, and as he did, the screen started to flicker, red static a couple times, and then that maddening laugh came again. Then after a few seconds of running, I noticed several bloodstains on the metallic ground. I felt a growing sense of fear again, thinking something horrible was going to happen to Knuckles. He looked nauseated, walking down this blood-stained road, but I still kept him going. Suddenly, as Knuckles ran, Sonic appeared right in front of him with those black and red eyes, and then red static appeared again. When the static vanished, showing nothing but black screen with text saying, "Found you!" I was now scared. Sonic found Knuckles already? What was going on? Anyway, red static came again, and then I was back to the level. Knuckles looked like he was panicking, and Sonic was nowhere to be found, and this time that high-pitched squealing from the Silent Hill 1's final boss was playing. I wish I put that on this list. Hold up. What's that song called? Final Heaven or something? What the fuck is that called? Heaven, Silent Hill 2. Or Silent Hill... My Heaven? Yeah. Hang on. I know that song. I know what song you're referring to. I know exactly what song you're referring to. Here we go. Was this some kind of boss battle with Sonic? I hope to God it wasn't, honestly. I want to turn it up a little. Suddenly Sonic appeared right behind Knuckles. In what appeared to be pixelated black smoke, I made Knuckles turn and then punch Sonic, but Sonic vanished in black pixelated smoke before I could even land a hit. The terrible laugh went off again. Then Sonic appeared behind Knuckles again, and then I made him punch again, and Sonic vanished again, laughing. Knuckles was panicking even more, and even I felt like I was going crazy. Sonic was practically playing with us. He was playing a sick, twisted little mind game with me and Knuckles. Another cutscene played as Knuckles fell to his knees and clutched his head, sobbing. I felt his agony. Sonic was actually driving us both crazy. And then, in a split second, Sonic lunged at Knuckles, and the screen went black with another distorted screeching noise that lasted for at least 3 seconds. Another text message appeared. "So many souls to play with, so little time. Would you agree?" What the hell? Just what is going on? I started to think Sonic was actually trying to talk to me through the game, but I was too scared to think that. I was brought back to the main menu, and this time, the second file box had Knuckles in the TV screen. His red fur had darkened to a reddish gray, his dreadlocks were dripping with blood, and his eyes were black and bleeding too, and he had a look of sadness on his face. I began to think that those are the actual characters trapped in those TV screens on the save files, but I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. So I shut off the game and I took a break. I took a nap. Wish I hadn't, because I then began to have the most disturbing nightmare. I was in pitch black darkness, but I was under the light given off by a lamp that hung high above my head. I could hear the cries of Knuckles and Tails nearby. They were saying stuff like, "Help us!" and "Why did you give us to him?" and "Run away before he gets you too." Their cries died out as I then heard Sonic laugh, and his laugh, it sounded a lot like the distorted Kefka laugh. "You're a lot of fun to play with, kid, just like your friend Kyle, though he didn't last long." I was scared and looking around for the source of the voice. "Won't be long now until you join him and all my other friends." I saw him walking toward me, flickering in and out in several directions. "You can't run, kid. You're in my world now, just like the others." When he grabbed me and I saw his bleeding black and red-eyed grinning face, I woke up with a fright. After a couple of hours, I decided to continue playing the game. I don't know why, but I had to know. I had to figure out why this was happening, so I turned on the computer, turned on the game, and selected Robotnik next. I still thought that was wacky, playing as Robotnik. But anyway, the level title appeared again, and this time it said, which I found really freaky. This time I was in some kind of hallway. Didn't really look like it was from any of the classic Sonic games, though it has the pixelated style. The floor was shiny and checkered, the walls were a dark grayish purple with animated candle lights and a few dark bloodstains here and there. There was a dark red curtain hanging above on the top part of the screen. Every 12 seconds or so, that red curtain sways very slowly, but whenever you're playing the game, you can barely see it move. The music was oddly pleasant, a piano playing a rather sad yet peaceful song, but I knew better. This was the song that played in Hill Act 1, only it wasn't in reverse. Robotnik didn't look entirely nervous like Tails and Knuckles did, but he did have a suspicious look on his face as if he was just a bit paranoid. He did a little animation when I just left him standing. He turns his head to the left and then to the right at least twice and then shrugs at me, as if he has no idea where he was or what was going on. Even though I was scared out of my mind about what was going to happen, I had Robotnik continue onward. He did his usual running animation. You know, when you've beaten him at the end of a classic Sonic game and you chase him, as we continue going through the hallway. Then I stop at a long flight of stairs leading downward. Now I was nervous. Even Robotnik seemed unsure of himself, though I pressed onward. As I led Robotnik down the stairs, I noticed that the walls have gotten darker and more reddish. The red torches are now an eerie blue. Then we landed onto another hallway. This one was longer than the last one, or at least it felt like it. And then we headed down another flight of stairs down. This one was much longer, took at least 1 full minute. This guy's very specific with the amount of time everything takes. Then I heard that horrid Kefka laugh again, and then the music slowly faded until it was quiet. As it did, the walls turned dark red and the torches were a black flame now. When Robotnik landed onto the third hallway, I noticed he now looked really creeped out. Though he tried to hide it, I couldn't blame him. I was scared too. Suddenly, Sonic popped right in front of Robotnik the same way he did Knuckles, and then red static. The red static lasted for about 15 seconds, and then it showed me a most unpleasant image. The image showed a hyper-realistic of Sonic standing in the darkness, where you can only see his face, while his head and torso faded into black. When I say hyper-realistic, I mean like he looked so real you could actually see the lines in his blue fur, as if you could actually feel the fur if you touched the screen. His face. Oh god, he had the most horrifying smile I had ever seen. And that's saying something considering I saw that image at the start of the game. His eyes are wide and black and once again crying blood, which also looked hyper-realistic. And there were 2 small glowing red dots in those black eyes staring right at me, as if staring into my mind. His grin was wide and demonic. It literally stretched to the sides of his face like a Cheshire cat, except Sonic had fangs. Very sharp fangs. Much like the werehog's teeth, except more vicious looking, somewhat yellowish, and from the look of it, he had stains of blood and small bits of flesh on his lips and fangs, as if he ate some animal. I stared at that gruesome image for a good 30 seconds, never taking my eyes off of it. I felt as if he was actually looking at me, smiling at me. That face. It just took 10 seconds for it to etch itself into my brain for good. Then the screen flickered with red static again 3 times, and on the 3rd time I heard the Kefka laugh, except this time it sounded distorted, demonic even. It went back to the image again, except this time there was the text again, though it was messed up. But it was pretty much one of the most horrifying things I looked at since I had this game. I am God! It was when I read that message, while looking at Sonic, when it hit me. I realized right there and then. This Sonic was a monster, a pure evil, sadistic, all-powerful, nightmarish, demented monster, and all of his victims, including Tails, Knuckles, Robotnik, and possibly Kyle, are just his little toys, and the game is the very gateway into his chaotic, nightmarish world, and the very hell his victims are trapped in. Suddenly, in an actual split second, I screamed as Sonic lunged at the screen, screeching loudly with his mouth wide open to an unnatural length, revealing nothing but a literally spiraling abyss of pure darkness before the red static came again, this time much louder and distorted, so loud that it hurt my ears. I yelled and grabbed my ears as the red static screeched for a good 7 seconds. Then it stopped and showed nothing but black screen. As I sat there, staring at the black screen, one last text came up. "Ready for round 2, Tom?" The Kefka laugh, now sounding more clear as if Sonic was right behind me, played again 3 times as I looked at that text in shock and confusion. Then I got booted back to the main menu, and this time the third save file had a TV image of Robotnik in the same tormented state as Tails and Knuckles. Robotnik's skin turned a dull gray, his mustache drooped and had blackened, his glasses broke, and blood is coming from them, and he had a mere dead-like expression on his face. I looked at Tails, Knuckles, and Robotnik, and I cried a bit. I pitied them for the agony they're going through. They were forever trapped within the game, forever tormented by that horrid hedgehog, and always will be. Then the computer shut itself off. I couldn't turn it back on, no matter what I did. I sat there for maybe 25 seconds, horrified by what had just happened. Sonic is the very embodiment of evil. He tortures people who play his game in more ways than one, and when he gets bored, he drags you into the game, literally drags you to hell, where he can play with you always as his toy. I can't get the game out of my computer. I think it's stuck in there. But at least I managed to turn it back on now. After I sat there for 25 seconds, I heard a voice right behind me like a whisper. "Try to keep this interesting for me, Tom." I turned around to see where the voice came from, and what I saw made me scream. Sitting on my bed, staring right at me, was a Sonic plushie, smiling, with bloodstains under its eyes. That fucking sucked. That's awful. I understand why 10-year-olds were so into this. Did I tell you guys about the, when I taught a kid's painting class, and I was teaching them how to draw and paint Sonic and Tails, and one of the kids there was like 10 years old and was obsessed with sonic.exe? He made his look like sonic.exe. Real story. I think of this kid a lot. I think of this kid every time I think of sonic.exe, which isn't that much. It's very bad. And it has poisoned the well of indie horror in general. I hate you, sonic.exe. Thank you for bringing me endless joy on my stream. Let me check my messages. Let me make sure my messages are good. I have so many messages. I'm probably gonna BRB. No. Let me see. Okay, we're good. Let's see. What's next? Okay. In this world, there exists a spirit, neither male nor female. The spirit is covered with a dark cloth, with a separate white cloth to cover its head. It is said to carry an enormous brown burlap sack in which it holds its victims. It is said that the second its name has been called out, either directly or indirectly, the person is collected and becomes the property of the spirit. Many who have witnessed its appearance have been said to have gone insane and were later found with their eyes gouged out. This spirit is very, very real. And failure Let me try that again. The spirit is very, very real, and failure to prevent the mention of its name will cause Candlejack to come and whisk you away.
Candlejack,